I found the end of the road long before I realized I was walking it.
You don't recognize a dead end when you're still in motion. The path looks normal, paved with all the usual signs. Get a job, get a girl, be someone, stay productive. Don't ask questions. So you walk, fast like everyone else. Because if you stop, you might hear it, that hollow sound echoing behind your ribs. He pauses, almost chuckles. They don't put up warning signs before the cliff. That would ruin the surprise. You don't fall off the edge. Not exactly. You just stop. One day the road just ends. No explanation, no crash, just stillness, and a feeling so foreign, it scares the part of you that used to believe in progress. The scene is minimal. A man sits alone at the end of a broken road. No sounds, no sky, just stillness. He's older now. You can tell by the way he sits. Not tired, but surrendered. Like he's seen through the illusion and found nothing. Not despair, not hope, just clarity. Most men end up here. The lucky ones realize it. He isn't bitter. He isn't even lost. He's something worse. He's aware. And this is where it begins. You want to know how I got here? Then let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about the road. Not the one you see on maps. Not the one your teachers praised or your father pointed at like it held God's signature. No, I mean that road. The one that starts with ambition, with hunger, the belief that if you just move forward fast enough, far enough, something will click into place. So I walked it. Degrees, deadlines, promotions, nice clothes, nicer lies. A woman who smiled like she meant it. A car that hummed like success. Friends who clapped when I climbed and vanished when I paused. Every step was progress, or so I thought. I never questioned where it was all leading, only that it wasn't now. The real life, I told myself, was always around the next bend. One more achievement, one more deal, one more woman, then I'd arrive. But here's the thing about the road everyone applauds. It's crowded, loud, full of men chasing smoke, smiling, nodding, dying inside. You see them too, don't you? The man who posts his vacation photos like trophies, but hasn't felt joy since college. The guy who married for peace, not love, and now walks like a prisoner in a beautiful cell. The so-called alpha who built a business just to feel like he matters, and still flinches when it gets quiet. We were all walking. We were all lying. Because we thought walking meant we were alive. But the further I went, the heavier it became. Not because of the burdens, but because of the silence under it all. No matter how fast I moved, the road never answered. No voice said, "You're almost there." No whisper said, "This is the right direction." Just wind, just time, just the same cracked path dressed in different seasons. They call that progress. I call it forgetting who I was, why I started, what I actually needed before the world told me what I should want. But I didn't stop, not yet, because forward felt safer than standing still. It wasn't success I feared missing. It was the silence I feared hearing. They don't tell you when it begins. The collapse, the silent death behind the smile. You just start noticing. Things don't land the way they used to. The compliments don't feel real. The goals feel like homework. Even the pleasures, the women, the drinks, the wins, they taste flat. Like food from a dream you can't swallow, but you keep walking. Because what else do you know? Progress, forward motion. Keep grinding, keep pushing, keep climbing, even if the mountain leads nowhere. I remember the first wall I hit. It wasn't dramatic. No accident, no breakdown. Just a morning where I woke up and realized I'm exhausted and I've done nothing real. That's the trap of the modern man. He mistakes movement for meaning. He thinks, if I'm tired, I must be doing something important. Number, you're just running in a maze someone else built. The invisible walls are the worst ones, because they don't stop you. They let you keep walking, right into despair. I started feeling like life was mocking me. Everything I worked for was just slightly out of reach. Money came, but not the freedom. Women came, but not the connection. Status rose, but I felt smaller than ever. Psychology has a word for it. Hedonic treadmill. You chase the next high to escape the last low, but the road just flattens until everything feels numb. There's a darker truth, though. Not just numbness, but the growing suspicion that none of this was ever real. You laugh at your own dreams. You know the ending to every story. More effort, less joy. That's when you stop trusting yourself. You question your choices, your instincts, your past. And that, right there, is the beginning of the collapse. Because now you don't just feel stuck. You feel stupid for ever believing you could escape. The funny thing is, the road never demanded my loyalty. I offered it freely, like a fool. You don't fall off the path all at once. You adapt. You shave off pieces of yourself, little fragments, just to keep moving. You lower your voice in rooms that don't deserve silence. You stop asking questions that make people uncomfortable. You forget what you liked, what you hated, what you wanted. You become agreeable, tolerable, normal. You tell yourself you're maturing, but you're not. You're dissolving. Every compromise is a silent burial of your original self. And the more of yourself you bury, the less there is left to walk with. Soon, you're just a pair of legs following signs you don't believe in. Wearing clothes that don't fit, speaking words that aren't yours, chasing rewards that don't feed you. You call it ambition, but deep down, it's fear. Fear of stopping. Fear of standing still long enough to hear how loud the silence inside you really is. This is the trap of learned helplessness. The man no longer believes he can change direction, so he doesn't try. His brain rewires around submission. He clings to routine not because it works, but because it hurts predictably. There's no mystery in the pain anymore, and that makes it bearable. I didn't just lose my path. I lost my posture, my presence, my reflection. You trade truth for comfort. You smile when you want to scream. You perform strength so you don't have to feel the humiliation of weakness. You become just enough to pass, just enough to function, just enough to survive without questions. But you're dead, not buried, just walking. And here's the cruel irony. The more you adapt, the more invisible you become. Until one day, even you stop noticing you're missing. It wasn't a breakdown, it was a slow erasure. I disappeared, politely. The road didn't end with a bang. No crash, no scream, just silence. That's the part no one warns you about. It's not the pain that gets you. It's when the pain disappears. No more highs, no more lows, just a gray, numb fog rolling in, quiet and thick. He wakes up every day, does the same things, speaks the same words. But something's gone. Not outside, inside. There were no signs, no big event. Just one day I realized I hadn't laughed in months, hadn't cried, hadn't felt anything real. I was alive, but I wasn't living. And the worst part, nobody noticed, because I didn't either. The fog is not depression in the textbook sense. It's deeper, more subtle. It's the soul shutting its windows. It's the nervous system whispering, "I give up." Psychological analysis. This is emotional flatlining, a defense mechanism of the brain when overstimulation, disillusionment, and internal dissonance accumulate unchecked. The man is trapped in depersonalization, watching life happen from behind glass. His mind isn't racing, it's stalled. He doesn't fear dying, he fears continuing. The road becomes foggy, both literally and metaphorically. His life's direction, once so clear, now fades into nothingness. No markers, no meaning. Time slows. People disappear. The phone stops ringing. He tells himself, I just need rest. But deep down, he knows this isn't fatigue. It's a quiet form of despair, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that waits. And that's the part they never show in movies, when the hero doesn't fight, doesn't fall, just fades. In this stillness, a seed is planted, not of hope, but of awareness. A question emerges from the fog. What if I've been walking the wrong way my entire life? Not just off track, but on a track meant to break me. In the fog, I stopped knowing who I was. But oddly enough, that's when I started noticing who I wasn't. This is the death before rebirth, the psychological liminal space where most men get stuck forever. Because it doesn't feel like suffering, it feels like nothing, and that's harder to fight. It wasn't a wall I found at the end. It wasn't even a door, just a man already sitting there. At the edge of the dead end, where the fog thickened and the noise of life had long disappeared, he saw something, or someone. An old man. Not waiting, not lost, just sitting. Same eyes, same scars, but something colder, something freer. He walked up cautiously, the way a man approaches a mirror he doesn't want to recognize. You finally made it, the old man said. No surprise in his tone, no welcome, just inevitability. The younger man asked, Is this it? The old man smirked. Number, this is you. He sat down. The road had ended, but not with answers. Only reflection. And then came the questions. Not the shallow ones. Why me? Or what now? But the cruel ones. The honest ones. Why did you follow a map made by people who never left the village? Why did you trade truth for comfort, then call it maturity? Why did you keep walking when your soul was limping behind you? The young man wanted to fight back. Blame the world, his parents, his past lovers. But the old man didn't care. You're not trapped in this place, he said. You're trapped in the idea that motion is progress. That speed means you're alive. That noise means you're not alone. And that's when it hit. He had walked his whole life, not toward freedom, but to avoid stillness. Because in stillness, you hear the voices. You meet the shadow. You see the parts you've buried under goals and girls and dopamine and debt. And worst of all, you realize you weren't lost. You were escaping yourself. The old man didn't offer a solution. He didn't point to a path. He just leaned in and whispered, The road never ends. You do. Then he smiled, the way only a man smiles after bleeding out every illusion he ever had. And the fog around them lifted just a little. He stopped. Not because he saw something new, but because he finally stopped hoping to. There was no door, no sudden light, no breakthrough waiting just ahead. Just the sound of his own breathing and the heavy realization that he had built this road himself. Every step he took in avoidance, in compliance, in fear, had laid the very stones beneath his feet. The road never ended because it was never meant to. It was infinite by design, a loop of repetition masked as motion. The illusion was always progress, and that illusion was the real prison. He didn't scream, he didn't run, he just stood still and looked. For the first time, not at the horizon, but at the path behind him, and more importantly, at himself. He saw the addiction to forward movement, to chasing, achieving, distracting. He saw how his identity had fused with motion. Without movement, he had no idea who he was. Stillness had always been unbearable, because it brought silence, and silence brought self. And the self terrified him, because deep down, he had always known the truth. He wasn't lost on the road. He was the road. Every belief that he was too late, too broken, too trapped had extended the path. Every time he said tomorrow, the road grew longer. Every time he refused to feel pain, the pavement reappeared. He thought he had reached a dead end, but in truth, he had reached the limit of his illusions. There was no path forward. There never was, only the path within. He sat down, right there, at the edge of the dead end, the same spot where every other man turned back, or broke, or begged for another sign. But he did nothing, no grand epiphany, no light in the sky, just stillness. The road didn't disappear, the fog didn't lift, the pain didn't dissolve. If anything, it got louder, stronger. He could feel everything he'd outrun, the grief he buried in noise, the rage he turned into sarcasm, the shame he disguised as perfectionism. And this time, he didn't distract himself. He let it all come. Not because he was strong, but because he was done pretending to be. This is the part no one talks about. The escape isn't a moment. It's not cinematic. It's not heroic. It's subtle. It feels wrong, weak, like losing. But that's how you know it's real. Because freedom isn't found in movement. It's found in presence, in witnessing the war you've waged inside your own head for decades and refusing to fight it anymore. He didn't need a new path. He needed a new posture. He needed to stop asking the world for permission to feel peace. The shift didn't happen in his surroundings. It happened in his nervous system, in his gaze, in the way he stopped clutching the illusion of control, in the way he let silence speak without interrupting it. This is what the escape looks like. It looks like sitting in your own pain without reaching for a screen, a drink, or another woman. It looks like watching your thoughts without believing every one of them. It looks like letting your inner child weep without calling it weakness. It's not easy, but it's simple. The road doesn't set you free. The world won't rescue you. No one is coming to open a gate that was never locked. The escape is a shift from outside to inside, from running to resting, from illusion to intimacy with yourself. And once he did that, something terrifying happened. He realized the road never mattered. It was always him. And now, for the first time, he was here, fully, completely, quietly, free. So here we are, back where we began, at the end of the road. But it doesn't feel the same, does it? You thought this was about a man, about his journey. But if you've made it this far, you already know the truth. This wasn't a story. It was a mirror. This channel isn't for tourists. It's for those who've hit the wall and want to break it from the inside. Subscribe if you're ready to stop moving and start becoming, because the road won't end. But you can. The old version of you, the silent follower, the sleepwalker. Kill him.